Hi, welcome back. I'm Fleur, the face behind Aloha Monday Teaching, where I help middle school science teachers like me and you be more intentional, prepared, and refreshed for Monday or any day of the week. So today we're talking all about how to get students to talk more in class and to increase participation. So it may sound like a good problem to have when you have a quiet class or something like that, but how do you know that those students are actually learning or that they are engaged mentally? So we are going to talk about some ways to get the class talking more, getting more kids to participate, and so that they are more engaged. And if you're wondering what to do with those classes that talk a lot, because I know we all have them, I have links down below of a blog post and a video on ways that some new ideas to manage those talkative classes. Anything that I mention, any books or any products, whatever that I mention, everything will be in the description below. And then don't forget to like and subscribe so you can, get notified when there's new videos. I try to upload once a week. So today, let's go ahead and start the PowerPoint. So this video is based on the blog post, 3 quick tips on how to get students to talk in class and increase participation. So we are going to talk about some possible reasons why our students are quiet. I'll give you 3 tips to increase talking and participation and how to encourage students to ask questions, because I know that's something we want them to do, but they don't always do that, especially in front of their peers. So here are some possible reasons why students are quiet. They might be really tired, especially if it's Monday or if it's, first or second period, they're still waking up. Some students are really shy. I remember when I was growing up, not high school, but elementary school, part of middle school, I was very, very shy. Like I would get almost anxiety if I had to present in front of the class. I'd start crying. Not anymore, but some are super shy. Some students might not feel very confident, whether they just have a low self-esteem or maybe they think they don't know the answer. They might know the answer, but they might not feel confident to share their ideas. So that might withhold them from talking in class. And some might actually suffer from anxiety where you call on them and they freak out. They have a panic attack. They freeze, that kind of thing. So they don't want that attention put on them. So with all of these different reasons for why students don't talk in class, what can we do to help each of these students? Let's go into the tips. So one tip is to create and maintain a safe classroom community. So I know we all create one at the beginning of the school year, so we want to make sure that we're maintaining it. And each class is different, as you know, but our classes evolve throughout the year. I mean, the kids are changing throughout the year. So we want to make sure we are maintaining that safe classroom community. We can also use cooperative learning strategies, and we can give students some think time. All right, let's go ahead and talk about our safe classroom community. So from the beginning of the school year, we want to create and then maintain a classroom community that is kind and supportive. We want them to understand that mistakes are normal. So we do that by modeling how to work through mistakes and how we learn from them. That way, because they're going to make mistakes, whether it's academically or with their behavior. So we want to make sure that they can understand it and learn from it and then change it. We can encourage students when they share an incorrect or partially incorrect response by saying things like, I see what you're thinking, or you're on the right track, or tell me more about your thinking. And that way you can get them to kind of clarify or just know that they're on the right track. So you guide them through it, which helps build their confidence. You can also do team building activities that help students get to know one another and how to work together. Teach them how to have group discussions. So brain breaks that are energizing and require interaction with peers are a good something you could do that's easy and gets them it's a safe way to get them working together and discussing and things like that. So I have one of my favorite books, which I'll link below, is Refocus and Recharge, 50 Brain Breaks for Middle Schoolers. Love that book. So there's energizing and there's calming brain breaks to choose from. So when you have that safe classroom community, students who are shy or that have anxiety will feel more comfortable when sharing, at least in a small group, maybe at very least with a partner, in a small group, and maybe with the whole class. And using energizing brain breaks will wake up those tired teens or preteens so they're ready to participate. Cooperative learning. This is another one of my favorite things. So cooperative learning strategies, I've learned this from Kagan's Cooperative Learning. So you've probably heard about that too. And if you've watched or read any of my other videos or blog posts, I mentioned Kagan's Cooperative Learning a lot because it is something I use in my classroom regularly. So you've got, I think, it's a must read, or at least a must professional development. So it is full of strategies that help you create a cooperative learning classroom. So one of the ways that I encourage students to participate and talk to each other, and I teach this at the beginning of the school year, and we practice it a lot. So when I have them in groups, they're in groups of 4. Sometimes there's only 3, but that's okay. It still works. So each seat has a number 1 through 4. And I teach them how to take turns in their group. So I'll pose some kind of discussion prompt or question that they have to talk about. And they take turns speaking and listening to each other. So when we're first learning, I'll say, okay, person number 2, you start, everybody else listens, and then go around your table. And that way they all have a turn and they're all listening to each other speaking, and they can share their thinking. This helps those students who are shy. It also helps those who are not confident in their answers because they can listen to their group members and then start developing their own response so they can learn from each other. And the third tip is to give students think time. Give them that time to process, to formulate an answer. So this is just one strategy here that I have in my brain-based strategies PowerPoint resource. So you can have students sketch or write their ideas or their responses, and then they share with a partner before sharing with the whole group. So think time, sorry, my allergies are bad. So when expecting participation in a discussion or posing a question, it's important to offer think time or wait time. So you probably heard in your career, give them 7 seconds of wait time, but I don't ever count. I just sit there and like give them some time. So I don't really know if there's like a magic number that you have to wait, as long as you're giving them think time. So during that time, like I said, you can have them share or write down or sketch their idea or their answer first before sharing out loud. And this is great for shy kids, kids who are not confident, or students that have learning disabilities, those things, for them to get it out of their head first. Here's a couple of examples when I teach about the cell theory. So I might say, okay, everybody sketch what Leeuwenhoek probably saw through his microscope. And then they have to draw a little molecule, like animalcules, he called them. Or I could say, write a 1-minute summary about the discoveries that led to the cell theory. And then we can talk about that after they've had the think time. I usually have them share with their group first, and then they can share out. If not a lot of students are volunteering to share with the whole group, what I'll do is, because I know they've all discussed, sometimes I'll say, all right, everyone, at each table, person number 1, stand up. And then all the ones at the tables will stand up and they all have to share something that they said or that they heard their group say. That's one way to get participation. Or since everyone shared before sharing with the whole group, you can call randomly on students to share their ideas or what they heard someone else say. But before you call on certain students, especially our students with like an IEP or a 504, make sure you know their accommodations. Some students they'll need to know ahead of time that you're going to call on them. That way they don't freeze, that sort of thing. So just let them know ahead of time. Say, hey, I'm going to call on you, so be ready, okay? And you can even prompt them. You can even like coach them on their answer so that when they share, they have that confidence. All right, so those were some tips. Oh, here's this. Remember when calling on students to share with the group, prepare students with different needs by letting them know they will be called on. All right, so let's talk about how to encourage students to ask questions, since this is something we want them to do in class so we know that they're understanding or what they're not understanding. So a lot of students will ask questions, but our quiet ones typically don't. So sometimes they'll either never ask us a question and then we don't see it till they turn in their work, or they'll email us, and then it's too late because their assignment's due the next day or something like that. So here's a couple of strategies that we can try to get our quiet students to ask questions. So first thing we might need to do is rephrase the way that we ask students if they have questions. So I know I do this a lot. So this is something I have to retrain myself to do. So I might say, all right, do you have any questions? And nobody raises their hand because they're not going to be like, I have a question. So that's a yes or no type of question. Most students will be like, nope, I have no questions. So instead of that, we can just change that question. So instead of, do you have any questions? You can say, what questions do you have? And they have to think of a question. What question do I have? And then they'll ask something. Or what questions do you still have about the cell theory? What do you wonder about the cell theory? So just rephrasing them will get them to think of ideas outside of like yes or no, I have question, I don't have questions. Then that will usually get students asking more questions. And you can even have them write this down. So that's my next tip is to have them write down their questions. So sometimes I'll give them a sticky note or something, and they have to write a question on it and then put it on the chart paper. And that way they are asking questions. So that's another way that you can encourage students to ask questions. All right, so we are going to wrap this up. So we talked about quite a lot of things today. We talked about some reasons why our students are quiet in class. They could be tired, they could be shy, they might have anxiety, lack of confidence, that kind of thing. We talked about 3 tips to increase talking and participation in our classes through, I need to go back to that slide. Forgive me on this, creating and maintaining a safe classroom community, using cooperative learning strategies, and giving students that think time so they can prepare their response. And then we talked about how to encourage students to ask questions in class. And that's simply by rephrasing the way we ask them questions. Instead of a yes or no response, require them to think of something else, like what questions do you have about, and then your topic, or having them write down their question. All right, so it's your turn. So I want you to think of your quiet students. What kind of strategies could you use in your classroom that will help them talk more or ask more questions? And then just reply below. I'd love to hear from you all. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and then check out these other videos that might be helpful for you in your science classroom. Thank you.